Hey guys, we're back with resuming what we discussed in our last video about our classes. So that we just made an empty class over here, and where we left off was calling the start method on that object that we made, adventure, of our class Space Adventure, and we found that we haven't made our start method yet. And there's nothing in it, and that's why we're getting this error from Xcode. So to make a method in our class, we use methods have, when you declare a method, you use a four-letter keyword in Swift called func, and that lets Swift know that we're making a function. And when functions are inside of classes, they're called methods. But basically, all methods are functions, so it's still func when we declare it. So remember, we wanted to make our function called start. So what we have here is just, we have our name of the method, followed by two parentheses, which we're going to discuss very soon, I believe in the next video. And then we have our block of code with our two curly brackets like before. And what we have here is that each anything that we put inside this will execute when we call start. So what we actually want to do here is, in our main, we actually almost never want like more than like 10 lines of code, because this is based on object-oriented programming. So this is our object adventure, and then adventure has many other objects, and then everything's built around this concept of an object based on classes, and that gives us very clean code that's very easy to read. And then you don't have to look all in one file, everything's separated. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to cut this code out of here with Command X to copy it to our clipboard and delete it at the same time, and then Command V to paste it here, so that when we call start over here in this file, in our main, the stuff that actually executes happens. So now when we run this, we're calling adventure.start, but it does the same thing as before, even though this is all that's in our main method. So we moved it into a function, so now you can do everything like before, and it's very clean. There's actually nothing in here, and if someone was reading our code, they would see that all we're doing in our main is that as soon as the program starts, we're starting our adventure, which is really all on a high level, all that we need to know, because when you look at this, you see that an adventure starts when you start the program. And then if you actually want to know what's going on in an adventure, you look at the start method that we're calling. And like you may remember, our start method is actually kind of not just starting. So it's actually not a great function right now, because it's doing multiple other things, and our start is actually composed of three other purposes that we can separate into introducing the user to the current planet, and then asking what the user's name is, and then going on an adventure. So we're going to want to separate this into more code and more functions, so it's easier to understand what the purpose of our code is, because right now it just says start, and that's not really good name because it does lots of other things besides just starting. Well, in fact, these things are all part of starting, but just the word start doesn't encapsulate all of those purposes. So what we want to do is split this into other methods. So we can, just like we had start here, we can make more methods. So let's call this, and let's call this method display introduction. Okay, so just like when we declared start, we have display introduction here. So So when we declare our introduction, we have this code, remember? So let's cut that out of the start method and put it here. And then remember, in our start method, all we have to do is display introduction. We just call that other method. So, and because we're already in this file and everything, it knows to call that method because we're already in that class Space Adventure. And if we wanted to call that from our main, we could say adventure.display introduction. But actually, we don't want the main method to be able to display the introduction. We actually don't want any other classes or any other objects, for that matter, to be able to access this method, display introduction, because that's actually a hidden feature of the start method. The main if someone's using our code maybe after using our Space Adventure class, all they need to know is that we're starting. And once we start, we call a series of other things that they might not know about. So we're going to make this a private method. And what that does is that it makes it so that we can't call it. We can't call it from here anymore. This will fail because it's like it says here, display introduction is inaccessible due to private protection level. So we can't even do this anymore because the main method doesn't even know that it exists. For all it knows, adventure only has one method, start. And by the way, if you want to see these possibilities that you have, this is called your autocomplete feature. So when you're just here and you want to see, you want it to autocomplete for you, you hit Control space on your keyboard, both of those, and it'll pop up this menu, and then you can just hit Enter to start to finish the thing that autocomplete had suggested for you. So that's our first method that we separated it into, but now we want to separate it into something else. So, but we're going to be doing that in the next video, so I'll see you then.